What is going on then, guys? Welcome to a new video. So today I'm going to show you how to make the most of $200 when using Facebook ads. And if you've used Facebook ads before in the past, then you probably know that it's pretty easy just to spend like $100, $200 and not see anything in return. So it's critically important then, even more so with smaller budgets, that you make the most of every single penny that you have. And the way you do this then is by going broad really quickly, just to try and bring in as much data as possible. And then you evaluate the data, see essentially which ad sets look most promising, which audiences, and then focus your budget down just on those ad sets. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do then in this video. But before we get into it, as always, I am giving away a free one-to-one call with me on this video. All you've got to do is simply like the video and leave a comment down below, and the winner will be announced then in my next video. And if you left a comment then on my previous video, make sure you stay tuned till the end of this one where the winner will be announced. And that being said then, guys, thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoy the video. And let's get straight into it. What is going on then, guys? So to kick the video off then, I want to show you guys the strategy in effect. So you can see that I actually do put these things into practice, and I will only ever recommend strategies or things to do that me personally have tried and tested. So this is the strategy, and I'm just going to show you kind of like how it works. And then I've got a Google document, which I'm going to go through and just explain why it works and kind of like the reasoning and methoding behind everything. So personally then, this is just one of the strategies I use. There are just loads and loads of different ones, and if you want some other ones, then I have got a free ebook you can download. It's 100% free. All you've got to do is give me your email address, and the link will be below in the video description, so check that out if you want to. So here it is then. This is essentially the strategy, and I'm just going to refresh it as well so you can see that there's no silly editing or anything like that going on. And essentially what you do then is you go on really small budgets per day, and you pretty much just target one interest per ad set. So as you can see, it's just focusing on the UK, 18 plus. They're all male and female as well, which I'll get into later. And then as you can see, there's just one different interest per ad set. And as you can see as well, we're only on $2 per day or £2 per day because I'm in the UK. And the reason for this then being is because at this stage, we're not that tied up. We're not focusing pretty much on the results at the moment. We just want to bring in data. We're not caring about how many purchases we get. This is purely a data gathering tactic. And once we've gathered the data, that's when we're going to look at the ad sets, look at these particular column headings here. There's a reason I've chose these ones, which I'll get into later in the video. We're going to look at the ad sets that are performing the best, and then we're going to choose those to up the budget on and essentially focus on the ones that look the most promising. So these are the column headings then that you need to be comparing each ad set against. And just quickly then, in case you don't know how to set it up, this little columns heading here, I'll highlight it on the video. If you click on that and then click on customize columns, you've got all these different essentially column headings that you can pick, and it's going to give you the data for each one, and then that way you can compare the ad sets looking at the numbers that you want to look at. So just click apply, it's going to give you the ones you've selected, and then you can click save as well, so you haven't got to go back into it each and every time and select the column headings. So yeah, that's the strategy in effect. Then how essentially does it work? So starting from the top then, as you can see, we've got 10 different ad sets. I don't think I had 10 there because I've been running these campaigns. You can see they've spent all of them over £10. So these have been running for quite a few days now. But essentially you start with 10. $2 per day. Each ad set is only going to have one interest, and this interest obviously has to be within your niche. And if you can, then make sure it's an interest that has a maximum potential audience size of 500,000 people. And this is actually a really key kind of ingredient to the strategy. And the reasoning behind this then is because we're not spending a huge amount, then we don't want to go after a huge audience. Because if you think about it, when companies do product research, then they won't just go out and ask like a tiny percentage of their target audience. They'll ask as many people as possible. That way they'll get like a better average of whether people will actually buy their product or not. And it's the same on Facebook. The more you test within an audience, then the better idea you're going to get of whether somebody actually likes your product. So if we go after a massive audience spending only $2 per day, then essentially we're not going to get as good coverage, or we're not going to test as high a percentage as if we were choosing a smaller audience, if that makes sense. Hopefully I'm making myself clear. Any questions on this whatsoever, just leave a comment down below. I always get back to every single person. So male and female, then we want to go for both genders, unless you 100% know which genders are going to convert. So you're going into a niche that you yourself have a lot of knowledge of. Then go for male and female. And then you want to stick to one country at a time as well. Now, there's plenty of time to scale off into different countries, and that's going to come when we've got the bigger budget. But for now, we're just going to focus on one particular country. So 2 days later then, so we run these, all 10 of these ad sets, we run them for 2 days. Our total spend is going to be $40. And then this is essentially where we do the first review of our ad sets. So numbers that you want to be looking at then across all your ad sets are the cost per click, the reach, the click-through rate, and the cost per action. So the cost per click, obviously the cheaper the click, the better, because then obviously the more relevant the audience is. The reach is important as well, because if you're spending the same amount per ad set, but there's a couple that are getting a lot more reach, then obviously your CPM is going to be a lot cheaper, which is obviously a good thing because you're getting more coverage, but for the same price. Click-through rate, again, this shows how actually interested your audience is within your product, because if they're going further through the process and you've got a higher click-through rate, then obviously it shows that that audience is responding better and it's more relevant than the others. And then cost per action, at this point you might not have any purchases, but if you do, then obviously the ones that are performing, if all of them are getting purchases and all of them are profitable, then obviously keep them all. But if they're not, then obviously just keep the ones that have the lowest cost per action, assuming purchase is obviously your target action. So heading back to my ad manager account then, just to show you, obviously this, you can see how much I've spent, so we're not at the beginning of this strategy. This is quite a few days in, hence why all of these then do have such a low cost per action, because there were others that have been killed off that weren't producing any sort of results at all. So you want to look at reach. As you can see, it varies quite a bit. So does the cost per result. You've also got the impressions, the CPM. Again, the cheaper the better, so long as it's performing the required data. And you don't want to just look at one of these and base all of your judgment off one. It's kind of like, think of it as like a recipe for a cake or something. This is a bit weird, but if you miss out one key ingredient, then it might spoil the whole recipe. And it's the same with your Facebook ads. If you miss out one key number or one key piece of data, then it may skew your whole result. So make sure you look at the whole picture overall. And again, any questions on this at all, then I'd be more than happy to help. Either leave a comment down below or just reach out to me in one of my social medias. All the links are in the video description below. So moving on then, pick the top 5 and kill the rest. Now this is kind of like not 100% accurate, because obviously if they're all performing profitably and producing sales, then you want to keep them all. So unless they've shown a sale, then kill them off and only keep the top 5. And there's a reason for this. Number one, we're on a tight budget, so we only want to focus our budget essentially on the ones that are producing the best results. And then simply the whole process pretty much repeats, and we keep, it's kind of like a funnel. Like you start at the top with loads of different ad sets, you narrow it down a bit, let it run for a couple more days, and then you narrow it down again and again, but we'll get into that now. So let it run for a couple more days then, essentially your top 5 ad sets. But what we're going to do now is we're going to double the budget. So instead of spending $2 per day, we're spending $4 per day. And there's a reason for this. So in terms of the interests as well, then we keep all of that the same. Nothing changes until the very end. All we do is change the budget. So the budget doubles, and the reason for this then is we're going to bring in twice the amount of data. So essentially we're going to test more of the audience, and then that way when it comes to narrowing even further, we can make an even more educated decision. It's what I mentioned earlier in the video. The more data we have to make a judgment, then the better. And the way you've got to look at this is similar to what I just mentioned, in fact, earlier in the video, is when somebody goes out and does product research or market research, then you wouldn't just ask one person whether they like it or not, and then base all of your findings off that one person, because you might ask 100 people and the very first person you ask likes it, but then the next 99 don't. And without that extra data, then you wouldn't be able to make a proper decision on whether the market actually likes your products or not. And that's essentially what we're doing here. So we run for a couple more days now, so that takes our total spend up to $88, which leaves us $112 for scaling. And this is essentially where we're going to narrow even further, but then increase our budgets even more significantly and essentially go after the most promising ad sets from the original 10, put most of our budget into these ones, and essentially this is where we're going to start making some money. So in terms of picking them, which ones we want to choose for scaling, again, it comes down to the same numbers. Obviously the ones that are producing the best results overall, again, considering all of these, then these are the ones that we want to keep. So by now then we will have spent approximately about $10 per ad set, and depending on what your product is. Obviously, if you're selling a really high ticket product where you can afford to pay, say, £50 per purchase, then you might not have seen any sales for now. But most people watching this channel, or at least most people that I talk to, are selling products kind of in the $10 to $30 range. So $10 per purchase is kind of like that ideal marker. So the chances are we will have seen some sales by now, and if you have, then that is absolutely awesome, and you definitely want to keep these ad sets, because if you can see sales spending only $4 per day, then the more data and the more you spend on that ad set per day, then the better chance you have of making even more sales. So even if you've seen one sale, then you definitely want to keep that ad set running. So choose the top 3 then, or keep every ad set that is showing a sale. And essentially what we're going to do now is double the budget again, put even more data through that ad set, because obviously the more data, Facebook works on data, it's a pixel, you have to mature your pixel, and the more data that goes through a particular ad set, then the more efficient it's going to become at delivering and essentially bringing in people who are more likely to make a purchase. So 2 days later then, our total spend is $136, and this is where things start to get interesting then, and where we can start making some decent money. So what we're going to do then is combine the winners into one ad set and combine the budget as well. So for instance then, it does depend on how well the ad sets have performed. So essentially what you're going to be left with then, the example is here, is you can have one ad set and the interests within that ad set. We're not going to narrow the audience, it's just going to be all of these interests, and it's going to be the interests from ad set 1, 2 and 3 depending on what kind of results they've shown. So if they've all shown a sale, then combine all 3 interests, but if only ad set 2 and 3 have shown a sale, then just combine the interests from 2 and 3, if that makes sense. So you're only combining the interests from the ad sets that have produced the sales. Then we're going to combine the budget of what we've got left. So we've got $64 left. We've got $64 left. We're going to stick that on ad set 1, and therefore we're going to be spending $64 per day. And this is where it's pretty much game changing, where things are going to absolutely change in terms of the return on your money. I've shown it before and again in my videos that Facebook says that ad sets optimize on an ad set level, and they need 50 conversions per week to deliver optimally. And spending $64 per day on one particular ad set, that's going to be more than enough data going through that one ad set to bring in 50 conversions per week and make our ad set optimized, deliver more optimally, and essentially become more profitably. So as it says here, the ad set will optimize quicker and allow you to target bigger audiences. And when your ad set becomes matured and becomes to the point where it's delivering optimally, that is when you can start scaling into the bigger audiences. You've got to think about it. If you have a brand new pixel that isn't matured at all, has zero data, then essentially it's got zero idea of who your ideal customer is. So when you go start targeting 1 million, 2 million audiences, then that is such a vast amount of people that it's going to be overwhelmed almost. It's not going to have a clue who to show your ad to. Whereas if it's got those 50 conversions going through it absolutely every single week, which it will have, spending $64 per day, when you move into those 1 million, 2 million audiences, it's already going to know who your ideal customer is. So it will know who to target out of those larger audiences, if that makes sense. So essentially that is how the strategy works. Hopefully I've explained it well enough to make sense, enough for you guys to want to go out and try it. And if you do, then please come back and let me know what kind of results you get. I always love to hear from you guys the kind of results you're getting, whether it's on YouTube, in the free Facebook group, whatever it is. Make sure you just come back and let me know. So that being said then guys, that is it for the video. That's it for the strategy. If you're still watching, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do leave a like, please do leave a comment. That will enter you into the free giveaway as well for a one-to-one call. And that being said, actually, let's get into announcing the winner from the previous video. So here we are then on the previous video, 3 proven Shopify products to dropship in 2019, 1,300 views and 99 likes, which is just absolutely crazy. Probably a record actually on this channel, so thank you very much. It's just absolutely mind-blowing really to think. I really do appreciate it, so please do keep it coming. So comment wise then, I think we're at 87, which is just absolutely huge again. So I'm just going to take the URL of this one and we're going to put it into our random comment picker just to make sure that it is obviously a fair raffle for everyone. So 46 unique comments. We're going to click start and see who the winner is of this video then. So the winner is King Amar. Nice video, bro. Keep it up. Thank you very much. Make sure you reach out, mate, leave a comment in this video, send me a DM, whatever it is, and we'll get that call arranged for you. And that being said then guys, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to comment, leave a like to be entered into next video's draw. And that being said then, I'll see you in the next one.